Today's on. If you guys are unfamiliar with the storyline, we're gonna talk about a little bit today of what the plot unfolds. So, starting now. So by this point, you guys should have seen the new X-Men Days of Future Past trailer. Here's my initial reaction. Alright, so we're going to talk about, like I said before in the video, about the X-Men Days of Future Past. So I'm going to give you a quick synopsis, I guess. An extended synopsis to the storyline for you guys who are not unfamiliar with it. So without further ado, let's talk about X-Men. So, in the 21st century, New York had become a nightmarish environment run by mutant discriminatory sentinels, so it's a shithole for mutants. Kitty Pryde is a mutant slave, and she's supposed to be on a medical run, and she's attacked by a rogue pack of human scavengers who hate mutants. In the story, she's rescued by Wolverine, who is now part of the Canadian resistance against sentinels. He has come to warn Kate that their plans to launch a full-scale nuclear assault on America if the Sentinels are not stopped. So, Kitty Pryde hopes to their gamble that this is going to work, and she's given the last component of a device. Slowly, she's been smuggling it into the concentration camp, and where she pretty much spent most of her adult life. When she runs to the South Bronx facility, she makes it through a Sentinel security sweep and walks past the cemetery of dead heroes and mutants, all slaughtered for trying to stop the Sentinel invasion. She meets up with her husband Colossus and the last surviving members of the X-Men, which happen to be Storm, Rachel Summers, Franklin Richards, and Magneto, who are now crippled and relies on a wheelchair to get ground. In their private quarters, the last of the X-Men put together the last component of a device that will jam the power dampeners that prevent them from using their powers. So they can't even use their powers. They live in a world where they're pretty much, I guess, the token black people, and they're not even allowed to use their powers. With her mutant abilities available to her, Rachel would then use her vast telekinetic powers to send Kate's consciousness back in time. For you guys who don't know who Rachel Summers is, Rachel Summers, in this dystopian future, she's the daughter of Cyclops and Jean. And she has Jean Grey's all of abilities, telekinesis, telepathy. So she's basically Jean Grey. So just picture that. She even looks like her too. The date is October 30th, 1980, and the X-Men are in yet another training session in the Danger Room. Their newest member, Sprite, walks in unaware that the session is in full swing. Realizing that the inexperienced X-Men is in the room, the other X-Men break their concentration to save Kitty from harm before Nightcrawler can teleport to the emergency shut-off switch. After Kitty is scolded for entering the Danger Room when a training session was in progress. When Nightcrawler tries to lighten the mood, Kitty instantly flinches in fear. When the X-Men go up in the control room to prepare Kitty's first Danger Room session, Nightcrawler admits that seeing Kitty flinch like that hurts, but he is confident that the girl will soon warm up to him. When Kitty's session begins, she concentrates enough to activate her phasing powers and walks through the obstacle course with her eyes closed. None of the traps that Xavier had set up to try and stop her from getting to the other side of the Danger Room seem to stop her, which causes the X-Men to burst with laughter at the fact that Kitty is easily walking through Xavier's obstacle course. However, when Kitty goes to exit the room, she's struck by some strange force and collapses. When they rush her to the infirmary, they scan her brain for a mental attack and find her brain patterns have changed, having become more complex. When Kitty wakes up, she's surprised by Nightcrawler by hugging him and happy to see him and the other X-Men alive. So, in case you guys haven't noticed, she's possessed by her future. Is it future? her past self, I guess. So Kitty, as she begins to refer to herself, shocks them with all this. She is really the mind of her older self from the 30 years in the future. She explains that she has come back in time to prevent the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants from murdering U.S. Senator Robert Kelly, Xavier, and Moira McTaggart during a hearing on the potential dangers of mutants. Their murders will bring about a apocalyptic future in which she lives in. Although X-Men, and except for Wolverine, are not so quick to fully believe this story, they decide to go and check the professor anyway. Aboard one of Worthington's aircraft, they fly towards Washington, D.C. Along the way, Kitty Pryde tells them how these assassinations will increase anti-mutant hysteria, and by 1984, an anti-mutant president would be voted into the White House and would pass the Mutant Control Act. Soon, almost every mutant and superhuman in North America would be wiped out of the Sentinels. These robots were meant to protect humanity. However, they would soon enslave the entire United States. She explains how her friends in the future had sent her mind back to her younger body, as she would have been the only one who hadn't been prepared with psychic defenses by Professor X at the point. She also tells them that the surviving X-Men in the future were also planning on shutting down the Sentinels operation in North America in order to avoid nuclear war in case she failed her mission in the past. So, back in the year 2013, coincidence, we're already in there, so that's cool. Rachel, Franklin, and if you guys don't know who Franklin Richards is, he's actually the son of Mr. Fantastic and Susan Summers. So he's born as a mutant, and he's pretty. Not that this is relevant right now, but he has reality-changing powers. And so Rachel, Franklin, and Peter managed to escape from the concentration camp, thanks to Magneto sacrificing his life so they can escape. Carrying Kitty's unconscious body, they meet up with Wolverine, who leads them through the sewers in the hopes of reaching the Baxter Building, where the Sentinels have set up a primary operation since taking over America. As they move through the tunnels, the Sentinels rip through the ceiling above to get to them. They first blast kills Franklin, incinerating his body. The remaining X-Men fight back, and despite their ages, manage to defeat all the Sentinels facing them before continuing on their track to the Fantastic Four old headquarters. Meanwhile, back in the present at the Pentagon, Raven Darkholme, aka Mystique, enters her private office and reverts back to her natural form. She has gathered the mutants' Destiny, Blob, Pyro, Avalanche into a new brotherhood of evil mutants for the purpose of assassinating Senator Kelly. When checking with Destiny's precognitive powers, Destiny informs that some unknown factor makes the future hard for her to read. Despite this, and despite fighting between Blob, Pyro, and Avalanche, they move on to enact their plans. Later, at the United States Senate, the hearing over mutants in full order, and Senator Kelly questioning Moira McTaggart where the X-Men arrive in their civilian guises. When Professor telepathically asks them what's going on, Storm imparts that the information that she has gathered from Kitty. Just then, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants smashes through the wall, and before they can attack Kelly and the others, the X-Men change into their costumes and step in their way to stop them. So that's the first part of the issue. I mean, if you guys are interested, feel free to pick it up. It's a really good read. As for the film, it's going to go in a little different route. Instead of sending Kitty Pryde back, as you guys can already tell, Wolverine, being that he's the franchise maker, is going to be sent back. So the storyline is going to be a little different from the comic book. But let me know what you guys think of the trailer. And also, Kamikaze is coming right up. So make sure you say hi to me. I'll be the guy with the Red Skull costume. So like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.